From unbreakable defenses to ferocious young quarterbacks, this video will unveil the gridiron nightmares that left their mark on the league. These are the scariest teams in NFL history, the ones that no coach wanted to face during their prime. Number 9. The 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Let's take a moment to forget the 2000 Baltimore Ravens were led by Trent Dilfer and focus on a mind-boggling number, 165. That's the total points the Ravens allowed throughout the season. A jaw-dropping 10 points per game for you math enthusiasts. And yeah, it's as crazy as it sounds. While the 2000 Ravens might spark debates about their overall greatness due to a lackluster passing game, their defense, both during that season and in the years to come, was nothing short of extraordinary. One standout moment that showcased the Ravens' defensive dominance was their 2000 AFC wildcard game against the Denver Broncos. Facing an offense led by the legendary John Elway, the Ravens suffocated the Broncos, allowing a meager 3 points in a 21-3 victory. It wasn't just a win, it was a defensive clinic that set the tone for their postseason run and ultimately a Super Bowl. Number 8. The 1964 Cleveland Browns. Let's rewind the clock to 1964 and talk about the Cleveland Browns, a team so terrifying that defenders found themselves questioning their career choices. Picture this: Jim Brown bulldozing his way through opponents, accumulating an insane 1,446 rushing yards, and Frank Ryan tossing touchdowns like confetti with 25 to his name. Now that's a dynamic duo right there. The 64 Browns weren't just a two-man show. Heavyweights like Paul Warfield and Lou Groza joined the party, forming a squad that struck fear into the hearts of every team they faced. Fun fact? Jim Brown, a human bulldozer, was out there running over defenders and, get this, he outweighed some of his offensive linemen by a good 20 pounds. It's like trying to tackle a runaway bull on the field. Spoiler alert, it didn't end well for the other guys. Number 7. The 1984 San Francisco 49ers. Shifting gears to the gridiron glory of 1984, the San Francisco 49ers were not messing around. Fresh off their Super Bowl win in '82, they silenced any remaining doubters with a dominant 15-1 record, capping it off with a Super Bowl 19 victory. Joe Montana, a legend at this point, was the Brady of this era, and Bill Walsh the Belichick. Facing them each week was like entering a football battlefield, and it wasn't just about Joe Cool and the offense. Ronnie Lott, a hard-hitting force of nature, patrolled the defense and struck fear into opposing offenses. With intimidating figures like Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, Roger Craig, Keena Turner, Ronnie Lott, and Eric Wright, the '84 49ers were a gridiron juggernaut that left opponents trembling in their cleats. Number 6. The 2003 New England Patriots. Fast forward to the early 2000s and let's talk about the New England Patriots, a team that went on a winning spree so wild that even fortune cookies were taking notes. Imagine this: the 2003-2004 Patriots set an NFL record with a mind-blowing 21 consecutive victories. If you weren't a die-hard Colts fan, you probably caught wind that these guys were practically untouchable. Led by the dynamic duo of Coach Bill Belichick and the legendary Tom Brady, this squad wasn't just a team. They were a football phenomenon. 2 Super Bowls in consecutive years, matching 14-2 records in '03 and '04. It's like they were playing Madden on easy mode while the rest of the league struggled to find the controller. And hey, let's not forget the star-studded cast featuring Rodney Harrison, Corey Dillon, Willie McGinnis, Ted Bruschi, and Mike Vrabel. It was an all-star team on steroids. Number 5. The 1985 Chicago Bears. All right, let's hop back into our time-traveling football DeLorean and head straight to 1985, where the Chicago Bears weren't just a team, they were the legends of NFL greatness. Picture this: a squad led by future Hall of Famer Mike Singletary, Richard Dent, and the iconic Walter Payton. These guys weren't just football players, they were gridiron gods, and they made sure the world knew it. With a jaw-dropping 15-1 record, a Super Bowl victory, and a dance move that some would call stupid but we call it iconic, and the human highlight reel that was Walter Payton tearing up the field, that's the recipe for Chicago's intimidation stew. Add in the bone-chilling Soldier Field and you've got a team that took on mythical proportions as it bulldozed through the league. Coach Mike Ditka, the man with the mustache, led the roster that read like a who's who of football nightmares. Singletary, Dent, William the Refrigerator Perry, Walter Payton, the headband-wearing rebel Jim McMahon, and a defensive line that struck fear into every quarterback's heart. This wasn't just a football team. It was a swaggering, dancing, dominating force that left opponents wondering what hit them. Number 4. The 1986 New York Giants. The 1986 Giants, an unstoppable force of nature. What made them so fearsome? One word, LT. No, not the luxury tax. We're talking about Lawrence Taylor, the linebacker who made quarterbacks wake up in cold sweats. The Giants won games left and right during the 80s, but the 1986 season? That was the peak of intimidation, my friends. LT set the NFL ablaze with a mind-boggling 20.5 sacks, a feat so impressive it was the football equivalent of setting the field on fire. Opposing offenses were like deer in headlights, frozen by the sheer terror of facing this defensive powerhouse. And let's not forget the supporting cast of this gridiron drama. Harry Carson, Gary Reasons, Carl Banks, Leonard Marshall, Mark Bavaro, Jim Burt, Joe Morris, and Maurice Carthon. These guys weren't just players, they were LT's partners in crime, creating a defensive symphony that left offenses singing a different tune. The 1986 Giants weren't just a team, they were the stuff of nightmares for anyone with a football in hand. Number 3. The 1976 Oakland Raiders. Let's rewind to 1976, when the Oakland Raiders weren't just a football team. They were a collection of gridiron enforcers that struck fear into the hearts of opponents. 2 years before Jack the Assassin Tatum delivered a hit that echoed through NFL history, the 76 Raiders were already building a reputation as a squad not to be messed with. Led by the notorious bad boy attitude, the 76 Raiders etched themselves into the mythical tales of football's gridiron days. Losing only once in Week 4 to the Patriots, that defeat served as jet fuel for the Raiders' fiery rampage through the rest of the season, culminating in a Super Bowl victory. If we asked Pro Football Hall of Fame voters who the dirtiest, meanest team in NFL history was, my entire salary would confidently ride on the 70s Raiders winning the vote. Let's talk about the rogues gallery of intimidation on this team. Jack Tatum, Ted Hendricks, Art Shell, Gene Upshaw, Dave Casper, Willie Brown, Ken Stabler, Fred Biletnikoff, and Cliff Branch. These weren't just players, they were gridiron renegades, leaving a trail of terrified opponents in their wake. Number 2. The 2007 New England Patriots. The 2007 New England Patriots were about to unleash a football apocalypse. When they traded for Randy Moss during the NFL draft, it was the WTF moment that left other teams scratching their heads. How on earth were they supposed to stop an offense that produced an NFL record 589 points, led by the team maestro Tom Brady and his favorite target, Moss? The Patriots cruised to a perfect 16-0 regular season, showcasing a defense with a bend but don't break philosophy and an offense that seemed unstoppable. Tom Brady threw an eye-popping 50 touchdown passes, 23 of them to Moss, which still makes defensive coordinators wake up in cold sweats. The 2007 Patriots, whether you loved them or feared them, you couldn't deny they were a spectacle of fun and terror on the football field. With the coaching genius of Bill Belichick, the surgical precision of Tom Brady, the otherworldly skills of Randy Moss, and the bone-crushing hits of Rodney Harrison, they were a football force that left a lasting imprint on the game. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. The number 1 team on the list is the late 80s San Francisco 49ers. These were the bullies on the NFL block, leaving opponents quaking in their cleats. Coined the team of the 80s, their dominance was the stuff of legend. In 1988, led by the iconic duo of Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, they clinched the Super Bowl with a 10-6 record in Coach Bill Walsh's farewell season. Little did they know, the '89 49ers were about to drop the hammer. Under the leadership of George Seifert, the '89 squad lost just 2 games, securing a second consecutive Super Bowl and earning the title of ESPN's greatest team of all time. Joe Montana, Steve Young, Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, Jerry Rice. It was a lineup that nightmares were made of. The '88 team set the stage, and in '89 they didn't just conquer, they left an indelible mark as perhaps the greatest team ever. The '80s 49ers weren't just a team, they were a football juggernaut, a symphony of excellence that struck fear into the hearts of opponents. Joe Cool, Jerry Rice, and the rest of the crew were more than players. They were gridiron gods, crafting a legacy that echoes through the halls of NFL history.